My name is Liam, 34 years old, and I've spent years building a reputation in a world that often overlooks quiet competence. I sit in my cramped home office, the rejection email from my CEO, Mark, still glowing on my screen, clutching a headhunter's offer from his rival firm, sent just hours after our meeting. He laughed at my request for a 10% raise, dismissing my value, but I've decided to take my skills elsewhere, igniting a plan to turn his mockery into his downfall. My pulse races with a mix of anger and strategy, the road ahead uncertain but my determination unshakable. I started at Nextech 5 years ago, a mid-tier software developer with a knack for optimizing code. The company, a leader in AI solutions, buzzed with ambition, and I thrived, streamlining their flagship product to cut processing times by 30%. My work earned quiet praise from my team, but Mark, the CEO, a brash ex-VC with a penchant for charisma over substance, barely noticed. I lived modestly, my savings growing, while he flaunted his corner office and private jet. My colleagues, overworked and underpaid, envied my output, but I stayed focused, hoping loyalty would pay off. The raise request came after a grueling project. I'd led a team to deliver a contract worth $5 million, my algorithm the backbone, and my performance reviews glowed with indispensable. I calculated a 10% raise, $15,000, modest given my impact, and scheduled a meeting with Mark. He leaned back in his leather chair, smirking as I presented my case, metrics, client feedback, hours logged. A raise? He chuckled, his tone dripping with condescension. Liam, you're lucky to have this job. Stick to coding. His laughter echoed as he dismissed me, the door clicking shut behind me. I left, my face burning, a seed of rebellion planted. That night, I couldn't sleep. I replayed his words, my anger fueling a search for options. A headhunter from InnovateAI, Nextech's fiercest rival, had contacted me months ago, intrigued by my GitHub profile. I'd brushed it off, loyal to Nextech, but now I called back. The recruiter, Sarah, offered a senior role, $120,000 base, 20% higher than my current $100,000, plus equity. We need your skills, she said. I negotiated, securing a 25% raise and a signing bonus, my decision crystallizing. I drafted a resignation letter, holding it, my next move a gamble. At work, the atmosphere shifted. My team noticed my quiet intensity, and I documented my contributions, code commits, project notes, client emails, building a case to take. Mark summoned me for a casual chat, his tone patronizing. Don't take it personally, Liam. You're not executive material. I nodded, masking my plan, and excused myself, my resolve hardening. I contacted a lawyer, James, who advised a non-compete review and suggested leveraging my knowledge ethically. I agreed, ensuring my exit would be legal but impactful. The headhunter's offer accelerated. Sarah arranged a meeting with InnovateAI's CTO, Elena, who praised my algorithm's efficiency. We've lost ground to Nextech. You could turn that around, she said. I signed the contract, the $30,000 bonus deposited, and set my resignation for 2 weeks out, standard notice, enough to execute my plan. I began transferring my personal projects to a secure drive, careful to avoid proprietary code, my skills the true asset. The fallout began subtly. I informed my team lead, who sighed, "We'll miss you, but I get it." Rumors spread, and Mark called me in, his smirk fading. You're leaving. For who? I stayed vague, a better opportunity, and he laughed again, good luck, kid. I smiled, knowing he'd regret it. That night, I emailed InnovateAI's strategy team, outlining a pitch, my algorithm adapted for their platform, a potential $10 million edge. Elena replied, let's move fast. At home, I prepared. I recorded a podcast, Code and Courage, masking my identity but hinting at my story, its debut hitting 10,000 downloads. Comments praised my grit, stand up to them. And I saved them, building my narrative. A tech blogger contacted me, intrigued by the rumor, and I teased an exclusive, holding it as leverage. James reviewed my exit strategy, ensuring I'd avoid lawsuits, and I packed my office, my departure a statement. The next company event, a product launch, became my stage. I arrived with James, his presence a shield. During the keynote, Mark boasted about Nextech's lead, oblivious to my plan. I submitted my resignation post-event, copying the board, my email polite but firm, "I've taken my skills elsewhere, thank you for the opportunity." Mark's face darkened, whispers spreading. My plan was taking shape, a blend of professional exodus and public pressure. His laughter had wounded my pride, but my move to his rival promised justice. The launch marked a pivot, and I anticipated his next move, panic or retaliation, with cautious hope. He wouldn't expect my impact, and I was ready to see it through. The product launch's whispered aftermath still buzzed in my ears as I left Nextech, Mark's darkening expression a silent victory I savored. I woke the next morning in my apartment, the resignation email draft and Innovate AI contract spread across my desk, their weight a mix of triumph and tension. The company's shock, Mark's forced smile, my team's quiet support, the board's urgent meeting, had shifted the tide, and I knew the real impact was just beginning. My plan had sparked with that move to his rival, and I was ready to fuel it, turning his laughter into his loss. The path ahead was fraught, but my determination was unshakable. The resignation hit Nextech like a shockwave. I submitted the email at midnight, copying the board, my tone professional yet firm. After 5 years of dedication, I've accepted a new opportunity. Thank you for the experience. Mark called at dawn, his voice strained. Liam, reconsider. We can talk raise. I declined, it's too late, and hung up, his desperation a sweet note. The board emailed, requesting a meeting, but I deferred, citing my notice period. My team lead, Sarah, texted, "You're a legend." They're scrambling. I smiled, my exit already disrupting their rhythm. At Innovate AI, the transition began swiftly. Elena, the CTO, welcomed me with a tour of their sleek campus, assigning me to a team rebuilding their AI platform. "Your algorithm could double our output," she said, handing me a laptop preloaded with resources. I started adapting my code, careful to avoid Nextech's proprietary elements, my skills the true weapon. Sarah, the headhunter, checked in, Mark's furious. "They're losing clients." I nodded, my plan gaining traction, and recorded a podcast update, Code and Courage, its downloads climbing to 20,000. Comments praised my boldness, "You showed him." And I saved them, building my narrative. The fallout at Nextech intensified. Mark summoned me for an exit interview, his office tense. "You're taking our work, aren't you?" he accused. I stayed calm, my skills are mine. Check the non-compete. James had vetted it, 2 years, no direct competition, and I'd complied, my ethics intact. He smirked, "You'll fail at Innovate AI," but his eyes betrayed worry. I left, emailing the board my final project handover, my departure a statement. Rumors spread, Nextech's stock dipped 5%, and a tech journalist contacted me, intrigued by the leak. I teased an exclusive, holding it as leverage. At Innovate AI, my impact grew. I optimized their platform within weeks, reducing latency by 40%, and Elena praised it in a team meeting. "Liam's a game changer," she announced, the room applauding. I pitched my adapted algorithm, projecting a $15 million revenue boost, and the board approved it, fast-tracking development. My salary bonus kicked in, and I upgraded my apartment, a tangible reward. James advised documenting everything, and I logged emails, meetings, and progress, my defense against retaliation. Mark's retaliation came fast. He leaked an old performance review, twisting a minor error into incompetence, but my recent achievements and Nextech's handover countered, forcing a retraction. I filed a defamation notice, James drafting it, and Mark settled, paying $10,000 in damages. Sarah texted, "He's panicking. Clients are asking about you." I recorded a podcast episode, hinting at corporate greed, its downloads hitting 40,000. A rival exec, Tom from DataCore, offered a side consultancy, and I accepted, my network expanding. The next company event, a quarterly review at Nextech, became my stage. I attended as an observer, James beside me, his presence a shield. Mark delivered a shaky keynote, glossing over losses, unaware I'd shared my Innovate AI pitch with Tom. Whispers followed, Nextech's lead shrinking, and I slipped out, emailing Elena my latest code update. My plan was taking shape, a blend of professional exodus and industry pressure. His laughter had wounded my pride, but my move to his rival promised justice. The review marked a pivot, and I anticipated his next move, desperation or damage control, with cautious hope. He wouldn't expect my momentum, and I was ready to see it through. The quarterly review's whispered tension still lingered as I drove away from Nextech, Mark's faltering keynote a silent triumph in my mind. I woke each morning in my upgraded apartment, the Innovate AI contract and patent draft beside a photo of my first coding project, symbols of my ascent from rejection to power. The company's struggle, Mark's forced optimism, Nextech's stock dip, Innovate AI's rising momentum, had shifted the battlefield, and I was ready to press my advantage, turning his laughter into a lasting defeat. The next phase was unfolding, and I braced myself for the fallout. The days after the review brought a surge of validation. Elena called, her voice excited. "Liam, your algorithm's live. Revenue's up 20% this quarter." I nodded, my code driving Innovate AI's edge, and pitched a new feature, projecting a $20 million boost. The board approved it, fast-tracking development, and I led the team, my leadership solidifying. Sarah texted, "Nextech lost a $5 million contract. Your name's in the rumor mill." I smiled, my plan gaining traction, and recorded a podcast update, Code and Courage, its downloads hitting 60,000. Comments praised my impact, "You're rewriting the game." And I saved them, building my narrative. Mark's desperation surfaced. He emailed, offering a 15% raise to return, his tone conciliatory. "We need you, Liam," he wrote. I declined, my values proven elsewhere, and forwarded it to James, who advised against engagement. Nextech's board called a meeting, but I deferred, citing my non-compete, my exit airtight. Tom from DataCore reported, Mark's poaching talent to recover, and I shared my seminar insights, strengthening our consultancy. The tech journalist contacted again, and I granted the exclusive, hinting at corporate hubris, the article trending online. At Innovate AI, my influence grew. The new feature launched, cutting costs by 25%, and Elena promoted me to lead architect, my salary jumping to $150,000. I documented every milestone, code commits, team feedback, revenue reports, building a case against retaliation. The safety seminar's follow-up drew 700 attendees, my talk on workplace worth a viral hit, and a startup offered equity for advice. I accepted, my network expanding, my reputation a shield. Mark's retaliation sharpened. He leaked a skewed project timeline, blaming me for delays, but my handover and Innovate AI's success countered, forcing a retraction. I filed a harassment claim, James drafting it, and Mark settled, paying $15,000 in damages. Sarah texted, "He's losing board support." I recorded a podcast episode, exposing toxic leadership, its downloads reaching 80,000. Tom pitched a joint venture, and I agreed, my skills amplifying DataCore's reach. The next industry event, a tech summit, became my stage. I arrived with Elena, her support a fortress. During a panel, I discussed innovation, subtly noting Nextech's stagnation, and distributed podcast links, my influence spreading. Mark attended, his speech faltering, whispers following. My plan was blooming, a mix of professional dominance and public exposure. His laughter had wounded my pride, but my rival move promised justice. The summit marked a turning point, and I anticipated his next move, collapse or compromise, with cautious optimism. He wouldn't expect my sustained edge, and I was prepared to see it through. The tech summit's murmurs still echoed as I left, Mark's faltering speech a quiet triumph in my thoughts. I woke each morning in my upgraded apartment, the Innovate AI contract and patent framed beside my first code notebook, symbols of my journey from rejection to mastery. The industry's shift, Nextech's decline, Innovate AI's surge, Mark's forced retreat, had sealed my path, and I was ready to cement it into a lasting victory. His laughter had bruised my pride, but my move to his rival had turned it into a lesson, though the final reconciliation was still settling. The financial gains fueled my vision. I invested the $15,000 settlement into a mentorship program, training young coders in AI ethics, a nod to my roots. The program's first $75,000 grant funded a coding bootcamp, its launch a community event attended by tech leaders. Elena thrived as my ally, promoting me to director, my salary hitting $180,000 with equity. The DataCore venture paid off, adding $50,000, and I donated a third to the program, transforming my struggle into impact. The patent royalties began, my name on a market-shifting drug, my reputation unassailable. Mark's collapse was evident. Nextech's stock fell 15%, and he was ousted, the board citing mismanagement. Tom from DataCore reported, he's begging for jobs. I felt no glee, only closure, and declined his calls, my silence a statement. The tech journalist followed up, and I shared my story, edited for ethics, sparking a feature, the code that toppled a CEO, which went viral. Comments praised my grit, you redefined power. At Innovate AI, my legacy grew. The new feature launched, boosting revenue by $25 million, and I led a team to win an industry award, accepting it with a nod to my journey. The mentorship program trained 50 coders, their projects showcased at a gala, and I mentored a prodigy, passing on my tenacity. The podcast hit 120,000 downloads, its finale, Rise Above the Laugh, inspiring listeners. I hosted a live Q&A, sharing tips, document your worth, seize opportunities, outlast doubters, and the session trended, solidifying my platform. The industry reconciliation came at a tech conference. Mark attended, diminished, and approached me, his voice low. Liam, I was wrong. Can we talk? I agreed, meeting privately. He offered an apology and a consultant role at Nextech, but I declined, my path set. He nodded, and we parted, a mutual respect emerging. Elena joined me on stage, announcing a Nextech Innovate AI truce, my influence bridging the gap. The crowd applauded, my victory public. One evening, sorting my notebook, I found a note from my first mentor, keep coding, Liam, it's faded ink a reminder. Tears fell as I framed it beside the award, a bridge from past to present. The program's second phase began, and I accepted a keynote slot, dedicating it to my growth. The family, distant but proud, sent a congratulatory card, a small thaw. Reflecting, my revenge was about redemption, not destruction. Mark's laughter shattered my confidence, but my rival move and persistence rebuilt it. The Ray's rejection was the wound, the skill switch the turning point, and this was my triumph. If you've faced workplace scorn, this is for you. Share below. Subscribe to Revenge Tempest for more victory tales, and hit the bell for updates. Until next time.